Welcome on in and gather round, gang. It's time for some more Total War Warhammer 3. We are here with the tech trees that have been updated in 6.3, starting with the Lizardmen. So update 6.3 is live for everyone. At least it is able to be, you're able to opt into a beta, which I will have a link in the description to basically give you all a nice little how-to that CA has put together on how to get into the beta. It's quite easy, and once you're in, you can get in and see what all the Lizardmen and Tomb Kings have to offer. So we're going to start off here with the Lizardmen tech tree. They have come for a full, they've gone through a full overhaul rework from the ground up. So just go ahead and buckle up. We're going to read right on through all of these here. Just take our time and see what's changed. So they've now been split, what they previously has now been split into two tech kind of panels here. We've got the Great Plan, which is going to be all about improving your economy and construction capabilities, more about how you act on campaign, and Cold-Blooded is going to be more about improving your armies and how they act in battle. So we shall begin with the Cold-Blooded tree, starting with the Saurus. We've got these nicely broken down, where previously you were kind of going across the straight line. These are nicely broken down, and you can kind of get the exact units you want and buff them up, and then move between the two, or whichever category you'd like, depending on what you need for your campaign. So we are going to begin with the Tablet of the Saurus, which is giving you 5 more melee defense for Saurus units. Sequence of the Saurus spawning shall grant you 2 additional recruit rank for Saurus units, followed by the sequence of armor crafting, which is going to grant you missile block chance plus 10% for all of your Saurus infantry and Temple Guard units, while also granting all Saurus 5 additional armor. The armor is not as exciting, but 10% additional missile block chance is always nice. Keeps your Saurus and Temple Guard fighting in the face of any kind of what would be withering missiles. Up next, we have Sequence of the Saurus Invigoration, which, in order to gain this, you have to go down both trees here. But Saurus Invigoration will grant you Vigor Loss Reduction minus 20% for all of your Saurus Temple Guard, keep them fighting for longer, and then an upkeep reduction for them as well, which is very nice. On the top path is extra weapon strength for Saurus units, and then Mass Combat is melee attack. It's not going to be for Temple Guard. These are only for Saurus, the ones down below, like armor crafting. That is going to be the only one that actually is going to buff up Temple Guard into Saurus Invigoration, which will also, this is the best one here, giving you a Vigor Loss Reduction 20% and upkeep, lets you get more of the scariest infantry that the Lizardmen have to offer. Sequence of armor crafting also very good for the missile block chance. Next up, we have our Beasts. Tablet of Beasts grants you additional recruit rank for all of your Salamander and Razordawn hunting pack, as well as the rest of the kind of bestial units there. Huge list, and all of them get 2 additional recruit rank. The bottom tree here is going to give us the sequence of the Great Beast Rampage. 5 additional melee attack for all Ancient Salamanders, Stegodons, Bastillodons, Coatls, Dreadsaurians, Feral Troglodyons, and Carnosaur units, as well as 15 charge bonus for Stegodons, Carnosaurs, and Dreadsaurians specifically. So kind of an interesting one. A little bit melee attack for all, but charge bonus only for a few. Next up, sequence of the Beastkeepers. Drops upkeep for Ancient Salamanders, Stegodons, Bastillodons, Coatls, Dreadsaurians, and Feral Troglodyons and Carnosaurs, so all the big beasts. And then drops the upkeep, the recruitment cost for them as well. The upkeep reduction minus 15% is incredible. On the top path, we have the sequence of the Great Beast Resilience, which is going to remove wounds for all of your elite tier Dreadsaurians. What do you think, rank 7 and above? They are no longer going to have the wounds debuff, so they'll be fighting strong till the bitter end. You'll also get 5 additional melee defense for Bastillodons and Stegodons, keeping them fighting a bit longer. And then some more missile resistance, making them even tankier as well. Sequence of Creature Bonding is going to give us a little bit of Vigor Loss Reduction for all mounted characters, and then Speed for characters as well, so a nice little buff for anyone on a Carnosaur, anyone on a Horned one, doesn't matter what they're riding, as long as they're on a mount, they're going to be less tired and faster. Once you go down both of those trees, we'll have the sequence of Prowling, which will give our Salamanders and Razordons Stalk and Snipe, which is amazing. Razordons and Salamanders do kind of suffer from the fact that they have such short range. They both have very good melee missile attacks, but the fact of the matter is they get maybe 1 volley before someone turns and goes, okay, we need to charge that and shut that down immediately. With Stalk and Snipe, you can get in pretty close, fire until the enemy notices you, and then you can, at least you have a bit more time to pull away, or at least you have a couple more volleys you can get in before the enemy does something about it, which is awesome. Moving right on along, we are at the Guardians tab, which is going to be starting with the sequence of Guardians spawning, buffing recruit rank for Kroxigor and Temple Guard by 2. Quick cut on the bottom path here, we have Innate Zeal, which shall buff up Kroxigor by giving them a enhanced passive ability, so in changing Spawnkin to the enhanced version, which she'll give them an additional 5 attack on top of the 10% bump to base and armor piercing damage. So not only will they hit harder, they'll have a higher chance to actually land those hits as well. And then they'll get 10% more speed, which is always good for any unit. Up next, we have Sequence of Croxagore, which will grant you 10% more weapon strength and charge bonus for Croxagore. Pretty good. Topmost path, we have a Sequence of the Honored Guardians, which will be about Temple Guard, 10 more armor for them, 10% weapon strength, and then 10% more armor-piercing weapon strength for them as well, which is very good. Sequence of Hardened Scales, grant your Croxagore 10 more armor and 10% more unit mass. It doesn't say specifically, but it says it only is buffing up the Croxagore here, so we can assume. For the final path, once you've gone down both of the others, we have a Sequence of Martial Excellence, granting your Temple Guard 5 additional melee attack and defense, which kind of feels a bit lackluster for a final, kind of a final research node here, but that's the way it is. Onwards towards the Skinks. We have, first up, the Tablet of Skinks, which is going to get you 10% recruitment cost reduction for Skinks and Chameleon Skinks, poison attacks for all Skinks, and 20% ammunition. Down this path, we have Sequence of the Quickness, making them faster by 10%, and then 3 more melee defense for all of those Skink units as well. Up next, we have Sequence of Skirmishing, which gives your Skinks Vanguard deployment a very, very good trait. 10% more missile strength for all of your Skinks, and then 10% reload time reduction for all Skink units as well, so they can fire faster and will hit harder when they do so. The right path is going to be Sequence of Skink Spawning, which will grant you 2 additional recruit rank for them. Sequence of Skink Purpose will give you enhanced spawnkin for the Skinks instead of the Croxagore, which is going to grant them 5 additional melee defense on top of the ability to cause fear. You have to have a Croxagore within 35 meters, but once them two are working together and using their synergy, you'll get 5 defense for them on top of the cause fear, and then where the Croxagore got 5 additional melee attack on top of their weapon damage. Good stuff. Oh, and also they get 10% more weapon strength to go with, which is always good. Lastly, after completing both the other paths, we'll get Vigor Loss reduction for all of our Skink and Chameleon Skinks, and upkeep reduction for them as well. Excellent. Actually, I wouldn't mind this being in the Sequence of Martial Excellence. Lets you get the same kind of thing for, double up on it. 10% more upkeep reduction for Temple Guard and Croxagore, and then the Vigor Loss as well, so the Temple Guard are very elite. That's just me, though. For our cavalry tree here, we've got Sequence of the Hunt, which will grant us 5 additional melee attack for Cold One units, and then 10% more weapon strength for them as well. That goes all the way up to the Horned ones, so Cold Ones that have no riders all the way up to Horned ones. On the bottom path here, we have Preternatural Swiftness, which will remove Feral Rage for all your Cold One units, so you can control them the entire time. It's incredible. There's no more Rampage, they're no longer Fire and Forget armor-piercing missiles. They are controllable armor-piercing missiles, and more speed for them as well. Sequence of the Ferocity comes next, granting you a more charge bonus for all of them, and then Strider as well. So I think they do begin with Woodsman. Oh, maybe they didn't. They don't. I could have swore they did. Either way, now you no longer have to worry about any kind of terrain penalties, because speed and combat penalties caused by terrain are ignored by this unit. So fighting in the jungles for your Horned ones is completely natural and very easy to do. So you will be ruling the jungles as you should. The right side here is going to be Sequence of Exotic Weapons, which will be dropping base missile, trading base missile damage for Pterodon Riders for armor piercing, making them hit a little bit harder in the late game. Sky is Burning. This is one of those where I always wish it wasn't just give it +4 armor piercing. Why do we have to lose base? No, just give us 4 armor piercing. That's the way. Although next we have Sky is Burning, granting all of your Pterodon Riders, Ripidactyl Riders, and Coatls 10% more speed and melee attack as well. Good for Tic-Tac-Toe's faction. And lastly, we have a Sequence of Enhanced Instinct, which is the recruit rank one. Kind of strange that it's at the end here, but that's the way it is. Maybe something a little bit more spicy for them would have been a better call here. That is our cold-blooded page. All in all, there are a bunch of good kind of new technologies in here. I wish we would have done a little bit more reworking of the old technologies rather than just kind of shuffle them in a different way. Things like this one is kind of sad to re-see, as just 5 melee attack for Saurus just feels kind of lame for a single node, but that's the way it is. Let me know in the comments what you all think of the cold-blooded page. We're going to move right along to the Great Plan, more about our campaign. We shall begin this quite large page with the spawning section. So we have Tablet of Spawning, increases the number of spawning sequence earned by commandments by 5%. This one is very good to have. It'll also grant you 4 additional recruit rank for all of your lords, and 1 recruit rank for all of your individual soldiers. This one is very good for when you are just trying to bring in a Kroxigor in a hurry, and you want him to have a couple additional traits. Good to make him an extra strong Kroxigor for defending a settlement in a like I said, in a hurry from like a rebellion or anything like that. The bottom tree here, we've got Sequence of Strengthening, 2 additional Lord Recruit ranks, so we've got 6 Lord Recruit rank going through both of these. Your Slawn, your Kroxigor, anything, it's going to start leveling up in a hurry or just starting off very elite. We've got 5% physical resistance also for Lords and Embedded Heroes, making them a little bit more tanky. The right path here, Sequence of Projected Presence. She'll grant us more targeting range for all spells, very good for Mazda Mundi. And then 2 extra Hero Recruit rank. Once we finish both of the other paths, though, we'll have Sequence of the Global Plan, which shall drop global recruitment duration by 1, give us more global recruitment capacity by 1, and then increase our diplomatic relations with all Lizardmen factions by 10. Making it a bit easier to get those confederations. Down to the war section, we have Tablet of War, which is more casualties captured and more income from post-battle loot by 5%. Sequence of Annihilation is 10% more income from looting, sacking, and raising settlements. Sequence of Marching is going to be 10% more movement speed, or movement range. And then Sequence of Geomantic Healing after finishing both other trees, which will grant you 25% more reinforcement range and 5% casualty replenishment. Pretty good one. Moving on to the Tablet of Order, or I guess the section of Order, we have the Tablet of Order, granting you 2 control in all provinces. Oh, yeah, we wait a photo by that. 2 control in all provinces. Sequence of Purification underneath that, granting a chance for plagues to spread minus 15%, and a corruption drop. Sequence of Coexistence will give us all regions owned by factions that you have a trade agreement with are visible. So they've now taken over another faction that has taken over the old High Elves mechanic. So not only is the Jade Court, but also does every Lizardman faction have the ability to do so. Pretty dang cool. But that means they're definitely going to be redoing something here with Tides of Torment for the, or at least I hope, for the High Elves. That way they're not feeling like everyone's stealing their mechanics. Next up we have Sequence of Absolute Obedience, which once again is going to grant us more battle reinforcement time reduction. I think this one, which was the other that did? Oh, that's range, never mind. So that's a 50% increase. Now this is reinforcement time reduction, and then more leadership. Sequence of Protection is ward save for all characters, always good to have. And then 2 more corruption drop for all provinces. Lastly, we have Sequence of Civilization, which will grant us more diplomatic relations with the humans, High Elves, and Lizardmen, and then more allegiance points gained. For factions that aren't Mazda Mundi, this is incredible. Mazda Mundi has like a -20 with everyone to start, so it's just something that's kind of taking the edge off of his trade a little bit. Sequence of Utilitarianism is going to grant us a higher chance of getting magical item chance from battles. Elder Wisdom is more research rate by 15, and then a higher rate stolen by 10 when you do steal technology. Lastly, we have Sequence of the Sea, construction cost reduction for ports, and income for ports. 10% income, 10% minus for construction cost. Pretty decent. Nothing crazy, nothing to blow you away there, but it's not bad. For the section of Creation, we have Tablet of Monuments. Construction cost minus 10% for landmark buildings, and more growth. This one's very good. Sequence of the Artisan is going to be even more construction cost reduction, but this time for resource buildings by 10%, and then more income from trade tariffs faction-wide. Sequence of Expansion is going to be 5% campaign movement range for all armies and 20 growth. I tend to go for the Sequence of Marching, and then come back through to the Sequence of Creation as quickly as we can for all of the bonuses to both growth and campaign movement range. Next up, Tablet of Crafts. Extra trade resources produced by 15%. Sequence of the City is going to be another construction cost reduction of 15%, this time for provincial capital and settlement buildings. And then lastly on this line, we have Interpreting the Old One's Meanings, which will give us 3 additional control. And then all of our armies will have 2 summons of a Skink Priest, an Astral Skink Priest, which they have changed. They actually now have 3 spells. They have access to Wind Blast, Comet of Cassandora, and then a beast spell that is slipping my mind at this point in time. Moving on to the Sequence of the Star Chambers, we have another construction cost reduction, this time for Star Chamber buildings, 15%, and then construction time reduction -1 for Star Chamber buildings, which is not bad. It's going to further allow you, if you go Tablet of Spawning into Sequence of Strengthening, and then down here, you're going to get some very elite Slawn very quick as soon as you start getting those Star Chamber buildings in. Next, we have Sequence of Construction. Construction cost -5% for all buildings, and then construction time -1 for provincial capital and settlement buildings. Sequence of Exploitation is even more diplomatic increase, this time with all factions, +5, and then 25% increase from trade tariffs. Sequence of the Great Temples is construction cost -15% for Cults of Sotek and the Old One buildings, and then construction time reduction for them as well, a single turn. Sequence of Geological Prospecting is a 100% income from mines and quarries, very, very good one. And then Determining the Great Plan, Temple Citadel regions become immune to climate penalties, which is incredible, and replenishes 10% campaign movement range after winning a battle. We'll also get 5 more leadership when facing off against armies that spread corruption, which is nice. The Temple Citadel regions becoming immune to climate penalties is insane, and allows you to pick up Temple Citadels and things like up in Marathi's area, which the Temple of Quintex now has a new landmark for Lizardmen, but once you have to get into here in order to actually settle things like that and not have those penalties. Last but not least, we have the Agents of the Elders, where all of the technologies that used to be locked behind certain buildings, they are now here, and there are only 4 of them. They're locked behind buildings, and they also have a bit of a cost. So first off, we have Sequence of Infiltration, which will require the spawn pools of the Chosen. That'll give us a 10% reduction to enemy action success chance, and then all of our heroes will grant stock. The first is not as exciting, but having all of your Croxagore and big scary Toad Priests now become invisible is amazing. Sequence of Scrying, once again, will cost you 2,000. Will require a Scrying pool. Will drop the action cost for all of your heroes by 15%, grant your heroes more success chance by 10%, and then give you more Skink Oracles, which again on this one, the last line of text here is the most important. Skink Oracles, I think, I would say are probably the strongest of your hero types. If only Sia would just give us a Croxagore, like Elder, not an Ancient, just an Elder, that would probably end up being the best hero, but as it stands, a Skink with incredible spells on a Troglodon is the win. Sequence of Heroism, though, is going to require the Sacrificial Altar of Sotek. Will give all of your characters immunity to Psychology, Wound Recovery Time -1, and then cooldown reduction -10% for all of your spells. For this one, again, the last line of text is, I would say, the most important. Characters, until they hit rank 20, tend to die, and when your characters are dying, it tends to be before they hit rank 20, so this is one of those that just doesn't usually work unless you're losing your Legendary Lord quite often. Lastly, we have Sequence of Stoicism, which requires a Temple of the Old Ones. Physical resistance will be increased by 5% further by Lords and Embedded Heroes, and all of our characters will have more leadership. Simple and fairly powerful, but 5% physical resistance for something that's costing 2,000 in our whole building, it feels a little bit not good enough. Let's add a 1 in front of this, and then I'm happy to see this one. But let me know what you all think. That's the Great Plan section and the Cold-Blooded section, so the whole 6.3 rework for the Lizardmen. The Great Plan is good, but none of these are standing out as anything too crazy incredible. I would say... And what would I say is the strongest here? Probably the Sequence of the Global Plan, just because you get that global recruitment duration reduction. That's always good to get. And then everything on the creation path is a must secure. Oh yeah. Temple Citadels becoming immune to climate penalties is incredible. And then replenishing campaign movement range allows you to sack settlements or raise them, and then get out of there without having any issues, or at least try to get out of there and get some replenishment going in. And then always having a Skink Priest, so you don't necessarily have to worry about fielding a priest in absolutely every army, is pretty dang awesome as well. But that's going to be all for me. Let me know what you all think in the comments below. I have been Space Wizard Total War. Thanks so much for stopping on by. I'll see you all in the next one.